Morgan has been a critic of the IDF's conduct in Gaza. Now, he wasn't always a critic. It took him a while to finally realize that the IDF was carrying out war crimes and atrocities in Gaza. But over the weekend, he stunned Professor John Mearsheimer, a political scientist and scholar, when he stated that Israel isn't committing a genocide. So here's how that went down.
Piers, I'm shocked at your rhetoric. In the past, when we have talked, you have readily recognized that the Israelis are committing genocide in Gaza.
I've never said that. I've never said that.
Furthermore,
I've never said that. I've never actually said I believe it constitutes a genocide. I think that you've heard genocidal language from people like Smotrich and Ben-Gvir, but I don't think it can be constructed as a genocide, because I don't think people who actually wage a genocide are interested in doing ceasefires, which we've now had for, thank God, quite a few weeks and months.
So I do think that John Mearsheimer was mistaken in that I personally have never seen a single example of Piers Morgan identifying what has been going on in Gaza as a genocide, much to my chagrin, right? I wish that he would finally just recognize what the reality is. But nonetheless, he has been critical of Israel and the IDF's actions in the Gaza Strip. And he goes on to explain what he believes Israel has been doing in Gaza. Let's take a look.
So what do you call it? Mass murder?
I would call it a form of ethnic.
What's the phrase that you use to describe what's going on in Gaza?
I have phrased it as I believe it's been a form of ethnic cleansing, but I have not gone as far as saying it's a genocide.
You don't think it's mass murder?
I think that the Israel argument about calling it mass murder is that they believe they are responding to defend their people from actual genocidal maniacs, Hamas, who are wedded to the destruction of Israel and the death of all Jews, and showed on October the 7th that they intend to do just that. And I think that my argument with the way Israel's respond is that the response was completely disproportionate, went way too far. And like I said, they've broken they've broken a number of laws in the way that they responded. But I have not actually categorized it as a genocide.
So John Mearsheimer is not known for doing the befuddled Tucker Carlson expression when he's talking to people, right? So the fact that he has that befuddled look on his face tells you a lot about what he thinks about what Piers Morgan is saying. First of all, everyone has heard what Israel claims about what they've carried out in Gaza, and I don't care to hear it anymore. So Piers Morgan trying to skirt the issue by regurgitating what Israel thinks they're doing is ridiculous and a waste of time. But he then kind of goes on to say, that's what they say. I think they've gone too far.
All of the major human rights organizations in the world, including B'Tselem, which is an Israeli human rights group, has said that it's a genocide. The United Nations set up a special international commission to study this issue. They categorized it as a genocide. All sorts of scholars of the Holocaust, like Omar Bartov, and scholars who study genocide have said it is a genocide. And as I said to you before, if you don't want to call it a genocide, I think you have to at least admit that it's mass murder.
I mean, you guys know where I stand on this issue, and I totally agree with John Mearsheimer. I don't know why so many people who otherwise have engaged in intelligent debates and conversations are pretending like they don't see what's happening in Gaza. I think Piers Morgan sees what's happening in Gaza. I think a lot of people in media are terrified of becoming targets of these, pro-Israel mobsters who try to destroy your life and your family members' lives if you're willing to call a spade as it pertains to Israel and the genocide they're carrying out in Gaza. They're worried. They don't want to deal with the heat. And I get that. But it's embarrassing because people are going to remember all of the cover members of the media have provided to Israel as it carries out its atrocities. And I don't really want to hear anything Piers Morgan has to say about Russia. Oh, you want to talk about Russia's war crimes? Interesting. Can we go back to how you don't think Israel's mass slaughter campaign in Gaza is a genocide? You lose all credibility. You have no moral leg to stand on when you provide cover for the atrocities committed by one country while whining about the atrocities committed by another country. I have no problem admitting that Russia invaded a sovereign country and has been committing war crimes. Have they committed a genocide? No, there's absolutely no organization that studies the issue of genocide. There are no genocide scholars making that argument. But obviously, I can be convinced if that is in fact happening. In the case of Gaza, it doesn't even matter if Israeli organizations, human rights organizations say that it's a genocide. You can't get Piers Morgan to call a spade a spade. And that's pretty pathetic.
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.